Alrighty folks, thanks for clicking on this video. James Cards FC here. If I sound repetitive or something like that, it might just only be to myself because this is my second time recording this video because unfortunately the first time I filmed it, my video got so laggy. I really need to invest in a new computer more than I need to do so with soccer cards. But in any event, I'm going to be talking today about our 2022 year in review in the soccer card hobby or the soccer card market. What happened, what can we learn from it, and maybe what we could see happen in 2023 as well. So without further ado, I'll go ahead and click into this. If you hear anything in the background, it's my dog. She is apparently deciding to have her breakfast at 8 p.m. tonight. So without further ado, I'll go ahead and start with overall trends. I put this into different sections for the video, and we'll go ahead and start with the overall trends section. So the first obvious trend is now that we're in 2022, we're trying to find a new normal. So the soccer card market literally blew up out of nowhere from 2020 through 2021 and has been trying to find its new normal footing ever since. So I'm going to go ahead and put up a couple of graphs here. The first one is going to be the soccer card market index from 2019 through 2022. And as you can see, it really wasn't even a market until late 2020 and then into early 2021. It just completely exploded. As of current time, it is now up over 870% since 2019. So that looks pretty good. But as we can see right here, this line cuts it off into what is 2022. And that's the graph I have here on the right-hand side of the page. This is from 2021 to 2022. As you can see, we're down about 40% on the year. So while over the past year, the market has dropped 40%, the market is still up 870% since late 2019, which is really cool unless you specifically bought in the late stages of 2021 or early 2021. You're probably still doing really, really well in this market, especially if you got in prior to 2021. So obviously, the hockey stick trajectory growth that we saw in 2019 through 2020 into 2021 was not going to be able to hold forever. Assets cannot just keep appreciating in value endlessly. There needs to be a pullback at some point, and 2022 saw that first big pullback towards the pre-COVID level prices that we saw before. Obvious question here is, where does this end? We all really have no idea. I'm not going to pretend to know where this ends and when prices start going back up. I have no clue. I think macroeconomics will play the biggest role in this. So depending on what happens with macroeconomics, I think we'll have the biggest impact on our market in general. But yeah, we don't know where this is going to end up as we go into the future, but we had our first big pullback sort of across the board in 2022. So next we'll talk about some specific players. Big names, big dips will be this category here. Even the most blue chip of blue chip players saw big price corrections in 2022, regardless of their on-field performance. So each of these players listed here and these cards listed here are just a representation of their market. So for example, when I show this 71 biz for Messi and BGS 9.5, I'm not just talking about that card. I'm talking about all the cards in his index combined are down 51% on the year. For Cristiano Ronaldo, he was down 58%, Kylian Mbappe down 40%, and Erling Haaland down 45%. We'll talk about a few of these players individually on later slides, but here are the top 4 guys in the market and how they performed. So, as covered previously, even the expensive high-end markets for these players got crushed in 2022. We saw hundreds of thousands of dollars wiped off the face of the earth in terms of valuations on those. So it's not just the low-end base cards that I'm talking about that are down. Across the board, these guys' markets are all very, very down. So for blue chips like these, it appears the overall health of the soccer card market plus macro conditions are more important than their on-field performance or legacy in driving prices. And that's one of the main subjects that we'll talk about throughout. When we talk about 2022, we're going to talk about how the overall macro conditions of the market, despite player performance, are really what drove prices downwards. So next, we'll go into the section that I titled the Prospect Graveyard. These are guys that got absolutely decimated in 2022, and in some cases, it was through no fault of their own. These were prospect cards who were really, really expensive in late 2021 to early 2021-ish, and then they didn't perform to expectations, or there were more out of the pop report throughout the year, and these guys are very, very down throughout 2022. So the first one is Joao Felix. His market is down 62%. Christian Pulisic down 62% as well. Ansu Fati in 2020, when the soccer market really started to explode, he was the number one prospect, the next Messi. He's down 78% on 2022 the year. Alphonso Davies down 79%. Then I left the last two blank just I could give you guys a chance to guess who they are. You'll probably guess the next one up here, who is Jadon Sancho, down 81% on the year in terms of his index. He really hasn't performed to any of the super lofty expectations he had, and he's really, really falling off the map. He can't get any minutes at Manchester United. He was left off the England squad, so really not sure what his career outlook looks like from here, but his market is down 81%. Now, the one that is down 85% is going to be a guy that I can almost guarantee nobody would guess. So go ahead, think of super mainstream prospects. Who's down 85% on the year? Would you have guessed Phil Foden? Because I wouldn't have. Yeah, Phil Foden's market is down 85%. This is a function of him having extremely high prices going into 2022. For example, this Optic Holo in PSA 10 condition was a $1,600 card going into the year, and now it sits at around $300 to $350. So massive pullbacks on his market. He also had a lot of cards that were sitting at PSA that got graded and then sold. So his population reports have started to add up, and that increases the fact that his market is going to keep dropping down and down and down as more of those get graded and sold. So yeah, Phil Foden is actually the most down prospect, and I believe the most down player in soccer in terms of index prices. So yeah, Phil Foden down 85%. As I say here, this was a combination of players having lofty expectations that they did not meet, and the PSA backlog flooding their cards onto the market throughout 2022. In 2020/2021, there were very few slabs of these players available on the market, which helped increase their prices, and now there are seemingly an infinite number of card options for all these guys. The lesson that we're going to take from this is that you need to do your research in understanding PSA population reports versus what can still be graded. A lot of people got caught thinking these cards were rarer than they were, and that ended up not being the case once PSA finally got through their backlog. And you also need to be really careful with lofty prospect expectations. None of these guys lived up to the crazy expectations they had. Even though Phil Foden's like a fringe world-class player, that's not nearly enough for him to hold the prices that he had in the past. So just be really, really careful when you're playing this sort of high risk, high reward, I guess, prospecting game. Next slide here, just to cover Vintage quickly. Vintage was not immune in 2022. So we started off the year with this narrative of Vintage being a much safer investment than modern, ultra-modern, or pre-modern, but that turned out not to be true. It turned out to be very false. So these are not representations of their market. These are exact cards. Card Ladder, the index database that I use, does not have enough cards of these players to really put together a good index, so I just picked out these particular cards that sold twice in 2022. So we have this Pele Alifa PSA 4, probably the most iconic card in the market, one of the most iconic cards in the market, one of the holy grails of the market, down 52%. This Cruyff rookie in PSA 7 was down 50%. Maradona Panini rookie in PSA 9 down 46%, and then Garrincha, his 1955 rookie, he actually has some earlier issues, but this is like the common man's rookie, still really difficult to come by in certain cases, but popped up a lot on auction this year, was down 67% in the PSA 1.5 grade. So like with modern, this drop is due to a variety of factors. You have the bad macroeconomic conditions, you have less interest on the market, this being the vintage soccer market, as well as the soccer market, as well as the sports card market. All of those things are different layers deep, so once you get down to this super deep layer, when you take out a little bit of interest, prices can get kind of scary. And also, as I put here, the last point, small pop increases on vintage cards can make a big difference because of how low the number of participants in graded cards are. So if you add 2 or 3 more cards to a population report of 50, that's going to do a lot more damage than adding 2 or 3 cards to a population of 500. And that's all the reasons that we saw kind of combining to bring down vintage in 2022. Then we have the World Cup flood drowning the market. So what was called the World Cup hype in 2020 and 2021 turned out to be the World Cup dip in 2022. This is something I've discussed previously on this channel as well as on a few other channels. The soccer index graph that I have right here shows that it's dropped 24% in the past 3 months alone, and I specifically circled the World Cup dates on there so you can see that the World Cup pretty much dipped the market the hardest over the past 3 months. As discussed previously, a massive amount of cards came to market for this World Cup. Golden and PWCC, those are the major auction houses right now in the market. They ran World Cup specific auctions which had a bunch of cards. eBay was flooded with rare cards of every single player, and demand could not possibly withstand the supply, so prices fell further. The takeaway from this is that when everyone thinks that it's going to be a good time to sell, it's probably not the case. The top players, Messi, Ronaldo, Neymar, Mbappe, and Pulisic, and etc., had 3 to 4 times more cards listed than usual during this World Cup window. Alec, United States men's national team soccer cards, did a whole video on this. Normally, he has 3 or 4 United States men's national team cards on his watch list every day or so, but during the World Cup, that number increased to like 30 or 40, so there was just way too much supply on the market, especially for key guys and pretty much any guy. There was just way too much supply on the market, and so forces prices down despite the fact that there was probably more interest in buying. Then we'll move on to key moments, just some key moments throughout the year that happened in the soccer world and their relation to the market. So we'll start off with Karim Benzema leading Real Madrid to Champions League glory. Benzema had one of the greatest Champions League campaigns of all time, which spiked his prices to record highs, at least momentarily. So as I go through here with some auction results, months before the final, his rookie sticker in PSA 9 was selling for $528. Then the week before the final, it sold for $810. The day after the final, it dipped back to $600, and today this card is now $113. So the reason for this is that there were 18 total rookie stickers graded going into this year of 2022. And then 50 of them got graded by the Champions League final, and 235 are now graded. So people saw the really high prices that people were getting for Benzema stickers. Benzema was on this massive run, so everybody rushes to grade his raw stickers, and now we have a ton of these raw stickers that are now graded, and it forces the prices down. So do your research, understand PSA population versus what can still be graded. Gemrate.com is the resource that I use to get information on how population reports have trended over time, so I would suggest if you're going to go pretty deep into this market, you familiarize yourself with that website and how to use it to chart PSA population reports. So that is what happened with Benzema. I think I did a whole video on this a few months ago, so feel free to check that out. But yeah, this is what happened to his market. Then we have one of my favorite stories of the year, Sidney Raebiger Hero 2.0. The release of the 2021-2022 Topps Chrome checklist and product had speculators going wild over the summer. One of the top 5 most hyped names in the checklist on release day was RB Leipzig's 17-year-old midfielder Sidney Raebiger. Despite spending the majority of the 2021 season in the U19s and playing only 3 Bundesliga-level minutes, his superfractor hit eBay the week of Chrome's release and sold on auction for over $14,000. Not even a month later, Raebiger was transferred to from Leipzig to a second division club in the Bundesliga called Greuther Fürth, and he has appeared in 5 total minutes for that club in the second division this season and is now nursing a torn ligament injury. According to Transfer Market, his value is around $750,000. So the questions that arise from this are, is this card still with the original purchaser? Did it get flipped onto somebody else at a higher price? And what would it be worth today? If I had to guess, I think based on comps of other similar player profiles, it's worth around $2,000, at least in my opinion. Maybe more, maybe less, but nowhere near the $14,000 it was originally paid for. And what you want to take away from this is that people do love to prospect, but it's inherently high risk. In a lot of cases, you're going to get burned. We usually just cover the cases like Darwin Nunez or Erling Haaland, guys that make prices go sky high, but we don't really talk a lot about the Sidney Raebigers of the world that have cost people tens of thousands of dollars. So I figured I would go ahead and highlight this one right here just to give you that example that prospecting, yes, it's a lot of fun. People love to do it, but it is very, very dangerous. Alrighty, then we'll go into another guy that I talked about in a video this year. This is Haaland. Haaland Mania lasts a whole month, so Erling Haaland probably created the most soccer card market buzz of any individual player this season with his blazing hot start for Man City. So you had a bunch of different people in the market, not just soccer cards specifically, talking about his scoring run, and it caused a bit of a bump in his prices over a month-long period. So the overall Haaland index was down 45% on the year, and I circled his run of form at the start of the season in red, and then I also plotted his Sapphire base PSA 10 only. This card is down 55% on the year, and I also circled the run that he went on in that chart right there so you can see it. But as you can see, interest was there for a few months, and then it's tailed back off, and now it's still down 55% on the year. So while Haaland was scoring at a never-before-seen pace, the market health and attention span was so low that it resulted in only a minor short-term boost to his prices. So the takeaway from this is that FOMO can still be very real, but sustained FOMO in this market is extremely difficult. Now we're going to go ahead and talk about a new set along with a new prospect player that people started to fall in love with. So Matthias Tell takes Merlin to new heights. With the abundance of products released in 2022, it was difficult for any single release to stand out from the rest. But besides 2022 World Cup Prism being the flagship product, Topps Chrome Merlin has been one of the most talked about sets on the market this year. One of the reasons is that it was a first of its kind widespread UK retail release that gave a new group of buyers access to a mid-end Topps product. I know Brian from Sunday League Investors has talked about how a lot of people that he has spoken with got into the market specifically from this set because they were able to find it in retail and it was their introduction to the hobby. So stories like that are always great. It brings in new market participants, and that's really what we're all hoping for as we hold through the soccer card market. So another reason why this set did so well is that Bayern prospect striker Matthias Tell had a couple of big performances the week of his release, which sent his prices and the prices of retail boxes soaring in a short time period. And then another note here, something I talked about in a video, the checklist had unique inserts like the UEFA Ball autographs and a fresh rookie checklist featuring guys that weren't in any of the other checklists this season. So just to give you an example of the Matthias Tell prices, on release week, it was a $55 payment for his rookie refractor, and it's now worth around $6.50 on eBay today. Alrighty, then we'll move into the last story that I have in terms of key moments from this soccer card market season. We have Messi, of course, winning the World Cup. He added the one trophy missing from his case to round out the 2022 year, and while there was a Mania on the day of the final in terms of number of cards sold, the impact on pricing is yet to be determined. The overall Messi index was down 51% on the year, and I circled a little bump that he has received after the World Cup final. And then I also charted his 71 Biz rookie card in PSA 8 condition. That is down 39% on the year, but it has had a nice run up recently. I'm not sure if this is going to hold, especially considering it had a huge bump after he won the World Cup. There were two sales in the $6,000 range, and then a few days ago it jumped all the way up to around $8,000. Not sure if that's going to hold, but that is currently what the comps are out there for this card. So the flood of cards that the World Cup brought to market have made it very difficult for prices to hold, let alone go up, but Messi's overall index saw a slight boost to the day of and after the World Cup final. It appears that the boost is now gone and we're going back to price corrections, but keep an eye on some key cards like this 71 Biz to see if there's anything more going on with the Messi market in terms of some possible price increases. The last point here is really important. Messi can still drop in price over the next 12, 18, or 24 months, but if you believe in this market at all, you must also believe in his cards holding value in the long run. Because, as I say here, if Messi is not valuable, no one is, because Messi is now the clear GOAT of this generation in a lot of people's minds. If not, then he's 1A and 1B with Cristiano Ronaldo, but he is in a lot of people's minds the clear GOAT of this generation, and if his cards aren't valuable, nobody's cards can be valuable because nobody is probably going to be Messi. Alrighty, then we're going to move into newsworthy stuff after I take a quick sip of water here to refresh my voice. Alrighty, let's move into newsworthy stuff. The first one is going to be sticker problems. This slide's really important if you haven't heard about these things. Not only did sticker populations rise faster than some market participants expected, but fakes and trims have been sneaking past graders and further eroding confidence in this segment of the soccer market. I put up the example of the Zlatan fake BGS9 sticker that was posted on eBay and PWCC. This is fake, it's counterfeit, it's been discovered, and it was a whole ordeal, but yeah, that's a fake sticker. Then we have the Maradona. This has been tried to be auctioned a few different times this year. It was originally a PSA 8. It was taken out of the slab, trimmed, and now it's a BGS 9.5. This has been tried to auction at PWCC and Golden at this point, I think. But yeah, it's trimmed. That's not an authentic copy. They've taken some scissors and they've trimmed it. So yeah, those things are sneaking through BGS, and even a few fakes have snuck through PSA and SGC as well. So just be really careful out there, and I'll talk about that a little bit more here in a minute. The other big story with stickers was the fact that a lot of these aren't as rare as we originally thought. The Dusan Vlahovic is a great example of this. In March of 2022, his PSA 10 rookie sticker sold for $2,000. He was on a big run, and there weren't a lot of these graded. But now, as he's sort of cooled off and there's a ton of these graded, it now sells for around $250. Big reason, 30 copies graded at the start of the year, goes up to 350 cards graded by current day. So that's a huge increased population over the past 10 months, and his prices have to pull back because of that. So let's talk more about the grading specifically of fakes. So PSA has offered refunds in the case that one of their slabbed stickers is determined to be fake. BGS, and I'll actually put SGC in this group as well because I looked at their terms and conditions today. They won't guarantee this either. So BGS and SGC have no such policy of giving you a refund if something is found to be fake at a later date. And BGS specifically has often refused to admit any wrongdoing. So I personally would be sticking to just PSA stickers for right now if you're looking to purchase those, and especially pre-2020 slabs if possible. These would be slabs starting with a number 3 or lower, because those were graded before they were really valuable. So I would expect there are a lot less fakes, if any fakes, because they would have been faking a like $20 or $30 sticker. But if PSA's policy changes, I would obviously change my opinion. And if BGS or SGC change their policy, I could change my opinion on that as well. This is just what I feel at the current time. So last point, modern and ultra-modern stickers, in my personal opinion, are dead in 99.9% of cases. Populations of these stickers can be too unpredictably large. People thought this Doosan sticker was going to be really low pop because it came from an obscure European country that they didn't think there was a lot of production in. But nope, this is a very, very common sticker in relation to what people originally thought. Maybe the Napoli forward winger named Kavicha, I think it is. He has some Russian Panini League stickers, so maybe those are actually rare, but I wouldn't chance it at this point. I think this is just too unpredictable, and for ultra-modern and modern guys, you probably should be sticking to cards just so you at least know what the supply on those are. Alrighty, then we'll move on to Mbappe finally signing autographs over and over. So, despite the fact that the ultramodern soccer card hobby, face of the hobby, was killing Mbappe, he had no officially licensed autographed cards going into 2022. However, in mid-2022, Topps announced they were going to release the first ever Mbappe autographs in an exclusive PSG Topps Chrome set. A few weeks later, Panini announced that they had also obtained the rights to produce Mbappe autographs and have been inserting his autographs into pretty much every possible set that they can post the announcement. Here's just a hodgepodge of different Mbappe autographs that we now have on the market. My personal take on this is that it's great that we finally have these autographs available for collectors, but I do personally miss the mystery around him not signing. And when it was just the Topps Chrome PSG set that had the Mbappe autos, I was intrigued to see if his autograph would be super rare and protected going forward in terms of these companies not really wanting to let out a lot of them to try and keep the value of it up. But it appears Panini will assembly line these stickers into, not stickers, but signatures and sticker signatures in that case, into every product they can now. Every product that they've had since this announcement that they can put Mbappe autos in, they have put them in. So I think these are going to be massively produced going forward, which is good for fans, good for breakers, good for collectors, but in my opinion, bad for prices in the long run of these particular Mbappe autographed cards. So then we'll quickly just talk about Fanatics buying Topps and perhaps buying Panini next. At the very start of 2022, Fanatics announced they'd acquired Topps, and this means that all future Topps soccer products will be released underneath the Fanatics corporate umbrella. Fanatics, as a company, if you're not familiar, has conquered the sports product marketplace over the past decade online, and there's hope that their massive corporation can elevate the sports card market to specifically new heights. While they bring these are questions that I have for them. Will they bring sports card advertisements to the mainstream outlets? Will you be seeing a Topps Chrome rookie card of Endrick on stadium video boards? Will Messinho be promoting his first Bowman Chrome prospect autograph card in his Instagram page? Who knows, but people are optimistic, and these are examples of things that could possibly happen. There have also been rumors all year that Fanatics will be acquiring Panini as well, but there's been no official announcement about this yet, and rumors have said that Panini would keep the sticker rights but lose everything else, but of course that's all speculation at this point. My take on all this is that I would welcome our Fanatics overlords with open arms and hope that they will spend incredible amounts of money on marketing the soccer cards and cards in general. I would not price in sports cards becoming more mainstream over the next decade as a direct result of Fanatics, but I don't think they can do any worse than Topps and Panini did, who really didn't even try. Even when they had this once-in-a-generation boom, they really didn't spend a lot on marketing or advertising, so I'm optimistic that Fanatics will do it, but I wouldn't go crazy pricing in or FOMOing into cards specifically because Fanatics now runs the distribution. So, this might be the last one, I'm not 100% sure, is that grading finally comes back to normal. In 2021, all major grading companies had to increase prices and cut off submissions of lower value cards that people were submitting. This was a result of the COVID boom, causing pretty much any $1 card to be worth $20 or more in a graded slab, meaning that almost any card on the planet was worth grading at $15 to $10 to $15 levels. And throughout 2022, the major grading companies have been lowering their prices back down to pre-boom levels as they clear the last of their backlog and are now open for upscale business. So PSA is now at $15 bulk for a 1 to 2 month turnaround as of December of 2022, and they announced that going into 2023, they will be at $19 for bulk submissions. I personally would expect these rates to continue to drop closer and closer to pre-boom prices. There are just not enough bulk cards that are worth grading at $15 to $19 anymore in this market. Those $1 cards that were worth $20 in slabs in 2020 and 2021 are now getting closer to that $1 value again, even in the slab. So there's just not going to be as many cards graded because not as many cards are worth that much money. So my take on this would be that PSA will be at 2020 level pricing, which was $9 to $12 a card based on category by the end of 2023. This does not mean that you should be stacking low-end cards to slab when the time comes, but keep an eye on it and always do your grading math homework. As I've shared on multiple videos in the past, you really need to do your homework in terms of how much the card is going to cost you, how much it costs to grade the card, what your expected grade on it is, and run that whole equation out to see if it makes sense to grade the card that you're looking at. Alrighty, then we'll move on to the last section here, which is the 2023 Crystal Ball. I say here that this is all personal opinion and for fun. Please don't make any financial decisions based off what I say. I'll likely change my opinions on all these things throughout the year as more things go ahead and happen. So I'll take one last sip of water, and we'll get into the final of the video. So, what's in store for 2023? First off, I think it's going to be further price dips. I think we still have some room to fall as the macroeconomic conditions can continue to be poor and cards start correcting or continue to correct closer to their pre-boom price levels. I'm keeping an eye on super obvious keys like 71 Biz, Ronaldo Mega Cracks, Mbappe colored rookies, etc. to see when and if they reach a new stable floor level. But overall, I think we're still in store for some more price dips. So, along with that, I want to talk about the Messi gap. Soccer Study and a few other people have already been talking about this, but I think the gap between Messi and the rest of the players is going to continue to grow. While I think Messi will drop in price in 2023 along with everyone else, I think he'll drop considerably less than any other player in our market. He's now in the majority of people's minds the clear number one player of the era, and his narrative will be extremely strong going forward. If you have a long-time hold horizon and believe in this market, these next 12, 18/24 months are probably not the worst time in the world to establish a position on Messi if you didn't have one in there already. And again, this point is important. If Messi cards are not valuable in this market, nothing will be, because nobody is likely to be Messi, and there has to be somebody of value. Otherwise, the whole thing just collapses on itself, which is definitely possible. So, last point here, prospecting continues to bring volatility. In my opinion, I might do a whole separate video on this, but if you're looking to play the 2020/2021 style short-term volatile flip game, I still believe you can do it, but you need to be prospecting, in my opinion, specifically looking for players that have low or no expectations that you believe can exceed them, because that's really what creates that price volatility in this market is FOMO and low expectations being exceeded. So that's what causes price volatility, even in this down market. Kivic is a great example. Darwin Nunez is a great example. I've done a video on this. I might do a follow-up. But yeah, if you're looking for that short-term volatility, at least in my opinion, in this phase of the market, you're going to have to do some prospecting and get lucky. A couple more here. The PSA gap grows is another thing I'm predicting for 2023. You already see it on some key cards, but higher BGS grades are selling for lower PSA grades. An example of this would be the most recent prices for Messi 71 Biz in BGS 9 are equal to Messi 71 Biz in PSA 8 condition, and PSA 8 far outsells BGS 8.5. So the reason for this is that Beckett has lost so much trust and brand over the past 2 years, while PSA has become synonymous with the card market itself, and I don't see that slowing down anytime soon, especially with the amount of cards that get submitted through PSA versus all the other companies. I also don't anticipate SGC being a major player outside of Vintage, because they're just an incredibly small company compared to PSA. They don't have the brand recognition, especially on Ultramodern. I just expect that gap to continue getting further and further away from these other companies. The last one here, just for more fun, Copa America hype, I question. If macro conditions improve towards the end of 2023, Copa America is rumored to be hosted in the United States in 2024, and the U.S. should be one of the top 3 teams heading into that tournament. Messi could still be playing for Argentina, and if there was ever a perfect opportunity for the United States team to really put themselves on the minds of the mainstream going into 2026, this would be it. Hype always comes before the event itself in the card market. So is the end of 2023 with better macro conditions the hype window for the 2024 Copa America? I think there's a chance of that. So I just wanted to put that out there as something maybe unlikely, but it's something I'm keeping my eye on possibly towards the end of the year on the horizon. Okay, in conclusion, we'll get through this final slide. While the macro factors are not looking great for 2023 in particular, I'm still optimistic about the soccer card market in the long run, specifically in this sentence talking about key players and key cards. I don't really believe in super high population based cards, especially for prospects in the long run or guys that are second or third tier players. The super obvious cards of the super obvious GOATs, I think those are what I'm really, really optimistic about. So take the lessons that we learned from what happened in 2022 and apply them to your future outlook 2023 and beyond. I've stated this in a few videos, but the easy money in this market has already been made. As you saw in the previous graph, we're up 870% over the past 3 years, but down 40% over the past 1 year. So it kind of tells you the easy money's already been made. The everything to the moon days are long gone. Unless you're prospecting and you understand the risk reward associated with that, I think you need to adjust to only looking at this hobby as purely collecting or long-term holding. The windows for short-term flips over the past year have been extremely small. Look at Haaland, for example, and you need a player to vastly outperform their expectations in order to even have those sell windows come up. So with all that in mind, set some goals for yourself as we go into the new year and enjoy the next 12 months of the hobby. So with that, Happy New Year to everybody. I think I'm going to put this up the day before the new year on December the 31st. So yeah, Happy New Year to everyone. Let's have a great 2023. I'll probably have a few more videos out about things specifically I'm thinking about as we go into this year. But yeah, set some collecting goals. Thanks for clicking on the video. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one.